Hello and welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm saying us because if you're not watching this on YouTube, which you can watch all of the podcasts, you will not know that right next to me is Ron.
Yes, hello, here I am.
Here he is indeed, just a disembodied voice to you who is listening through headphones. But we are truly sitting here in the backyard on Sunday afternoon after getting home from hut to hut, drinking a glass of wine, because what else is there to do in this beautiful weather? And excuse me while I have a sip, which definitely makes for great podcasting. Yeah, so the weekend, it's been a big weekend.
Yes, we've just got home and unpacked from very busy weekend up at Hut to Hut, which incorporates that, the Archie and the Boa. Although we were only working on the Hut to Hut race.
Yes, so we were there in a volunteer capacity. We were not racing, we were sweeping.
We were sweeping, yes.
And we swept the last section, which we thought was 30 k's, but it really was only 27.
Yeah, that's right. Max 27.
Yeah, it just felt like 50. From King's Hut all the way up to Buller Summit, then to the finish line.
Yeah.
So lots of climbing, like in the first 7k up to King's Craig's. Why do I keep calling King's Hut Craig's Hut? Too many bloody huts.
Yes.
That was
it was, I think, around 700.
Yeah, which was at 7Ks. I thought it was more than that, but basically for 26 Ks each, we would get 1,700 meters climbing, which that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And here we are whinging, and everyone else had done, 70 odd Ks before.
Yeah, that's right.
But still, it was hard.
No, it went well. We both got through it pretty unscathed.
Yeah, and so the Friday night, we drove up Friday afternoon, settled into the room, put our shit in the room and went off.
Yeah.
Drove down, after all that driving, to King's Hut and started sweeping at 9:30.
Yeah.
We were meant to start at 9.
That's right. We were supposed to start at 9 o'clock, but there'd been a few course closures due to lightning protocol. At about 6 o'clock in the afternoon or evening, a storm cell came through and set down a lot of lightning on the course.
And supposedly it was quite, there was the temperature dropped by 15 degrees within 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
There was rain, like supposedly at the headquarters. The rain was torrential. There was hail in some spots. One of the other sweeps in another section was saying how frightening the lightning was. And we're down at King's Hut going, why have we stopped the course? It's like tiny bit of rain. We can hear some rumbles. What's the problem?
Yeah, we were very well.
We were very protected
from it. We got a light spattering of rain. Really, barely even enough. Like people were still wandering around doing stuff
in their shorts and t-shirts.
T-shirt. It wasn't.
It was still warm there. It didn't drop there. It stayed pretty much the same.
That's right. And we could hear rumbling in the sky, but we really couldn't see a lot of lightning or anything like that. So we came out of there thinking, what was the big fuss? Didn't seem that bad to us.
So everyone managed to get off again, and we're like, go, and they sprinted off. And then there was another one around from about 8 to 8:45 where they closed the course again, similar thing. Yeah. And the thing is with the lightning protocol is they have to close a course until there's been 30 minutes without a lightning strike on the course. And they were looking, and there were lots of lightning strikes on the course. The race director was even telling us that some people who had been stuck out there could feel the lightning whizzing over their heads. Yeah. So as much as it is a pain and shit to have to get stopped, there are reasons, and I guess if something happened to somebody, the race director has a lot of responsibility there on them. And especially in this day and age, they've got to make sure that everyone is safe, and it's not just from a litigious point of view, but in general because they care. But that is also part of it too, no doubt. So then we started. So we were meant to start at 9, but we started at 9:30 because they'd held people. They extended the cutoffs a bit. obviously the cutoffs, they didn't extend it as much as they help people, but it's because, this is all volunteers out there doing the sweeping, manning the aid stations. They can't keep them up all bloody night.
Yeah,
you know?
especially when
They're up again the
they
next
have to
morning.
start again at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So there's just as much safety for them as it is for the runners.
But I'm meaning also with extending the cutoff one,
Yeah.
they didn't quite so much because,
Yeah.
there's other people, humans out
Yeah.
there, staying up, So we set off at 9:30.
9:30.
Our bedtime reminders had already gone off.
As we were getting our packs ready.
And I'm like, oh, I should be going to bed, not getting ready for a run.
Yes.
But mind you, there was precious little running because you basically start that section. So there we were all ready to go. And the first thing we do is cross a river.
Yeah, cross the river, get your feet nice and wet. It was about knee deep. So you get your legs and feet nice and wet. And then you start climbing, and it's about it was about 600 meters of climbing in the first 4 kilometers.
Yeah.
So
and that was, you climb whatever that, it's an old 4-wheel drive track.
Yeah.
It's nothing special, but it's steep going. But then you get onto this little single track, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
We called it Blackberry Hill. But golly, that gets steep in some spots.
It does. It gets steep, and it's very narrow because there's blackberries, growing in on it.
A wall of blackberries.
So you can't move off the path at all. It's you're really crowded in by blackberries.
Yeah, so we did that, and then you come out onto the road, and then you go sort of up towards Craig's Hut. We go to all the different aid stations, meet all the lovely people. It was just, it was really good. I was a little bit nervous about it because I had taken the week off running because I haven't been feeling good, as everybody knows, because I whinge every week about it. And I've been having a lot of issues with my calf. And I think the issues with the calf and everything else, it's just become an accumulation, and it just was playing on my mind so much. And I do believe, and it's a classic example of it, is whatever you're thinking about and stressing about, and oh my God, it's kind of what you create in your life as well. So the more I stressed about it, the worse it got, literally. And so I just went, nah, I'm just sleeping in every morning, well, to 6:30 because I still have to work. I'm not running, and I just took, 4 days, and we went out Friday night. My calf was good. I felt full of energy. I was able to run and not feel like, because when I'd been running previously, like every 800 meters to a kilometer, I needed to stop and actually have a rest because I was so exhausted. And I didn't get that feeling at all. And we were out there for 6 hours.
Yeah. We were out there.
Other than being sleepy from being up at some hideous hour.
Yes, because we didn't start till 9. We finished at 9:30. We finished at 2:30. So we were starting to get pretty tired, and
that's you do.
Yeah,
but that's a different kind of tired.
It's a sleepy tired, not a fatigue tired.
Yeah. So it was it was a nice night on the course after all that shit weather, and we were in singlets and shorts.
Yeah, that's right. We
all
weren't
night Friday.
At all. It was quite humid actually by the time we started up the hill, so we were able to just stay in singlet and shorts the whole way and be quite comfortable. And then
so then we ended up catching up with one of the girls just as she got off the summit. So yay, we didn't have to do the summit.
We could see them coming down off the summit, so we hurried up to make sure that when they got to the bottom of the summit. And when Ron says we hurried up, I said, Ron, run to the car park and make sure that we don't have to go and do the summit. Which meant that I had to run up the hill Ron hurried to the car park. I hurried him so that we could catch her on the way down and ask her to make sure that there was still no one on the hill. But the RDs had been trying to get to us on the walkie-talkie to let us know that we didn't have to do the summit. But when Ron had spoken to them on the walkie-talkie at some point, when I put it back, when we got my head torqued, and when I put the radio back in the pack, I accidentally changed channels. So we weren't receiving any kind of communication for the last hour and a half or so. Yeah, so whoops-a-daisy, but it doesn't matter. It all worked out okay. Yes. And so then we went back to our lodging, got to bed by 3, ready for a big sleep in. But, of course, the sun starts coming in the windows, and we wake at 8, so 5 hours sleep.
And then so then we got up, had breakfast, sat around for a bit, and then we were back to King's Hut
Yeah.
again.
So we went on a very enjoyable slash maybe not so enjoyable ride back down to King Hut in the back.
Shout out to Big Red though.
Yeah,
He did
shout
a
out to Big
great
Red.
job.
But it wasn't so much the driving, it was the fact that we were sitting in the back of a fruit carrier, which if anyone's done that on a windy dirt road, you're sitting sideways. So you're not actually sitting front, facing forward, you're sitting facing sideways. And that is a recipe for disaster. But by the time
Especially because my tummy was dodgy the day before anyway.
by the time we got to the bottom, we were both fairly shaky kneed,
And the
feeling a
seats
little queasy.
themselves are what,
Oh,
3 centimeters
three,
thick.
3 centimeters of foam
Oh
with
my
a bit of
God, with
half
the asses
face.
bouncing up and down. It was like, oh my God, we were just like, get us out of this goddamn truck.
Yeah, so that was about an hour and a half's drive back down to that
And a very long hour and a half.
because one of the roads was closed, we had to go the long way, which
Yeah.
meant we had to drive all the way down to the bottom of Mount Buller,
And then
and then drive up to Mount Sterling, and then around to King Hut. So it was a long, circuitous route,
yes.
and
Fun times, as
yeah,
always.
yeah. So by the time we were pretty thankful to get back down there, but the actual the interesting and good part about the second day was that we started in the light.
Yeah, we started at 6 and it was so much nicer starting the night. The crew crossing felt colder,
Yes, the water seemed to
but
be colder.
strangely, but it was just so nice to come up to Craig's Hut and I check out. Oh, and I'll put a video. I'm going to put it in stories when we got up to Craig's Hut, but I will also put it as a reel, hopefully, on my um what is it, Insta page, and then I'll put it on Facebook too. Have a look. It's so beautiful. Don't listen to me. I'll try to eliminate my voice because I called it King's Hut because I'm an idiot. I mean, I just come from bloody King's Hut. I know it's Craig's Hut, but I just love to call it King's Hut.
Yeah.
It was just so, and it was such a beautiful evening.
Yeah, the sunset
Ron was getting a bit frustrated with me, I think, because I kept stopping and taking photos and videos, and it's like, we're not racing. Sorry, bug flying in my face. We're not racing. Let's enjoy it, and oh my God, it was a beautiful sunset. The reds and the pinks and the blues. Oh, it was just stunning.
So after we left King Hut and we were climbing Mount Sterling, we could see off to the side that the colours were really nice in the sky. But we weren't kind of seeing looking towards the sunset. We were kind of looking away from it, but it was still really nice. But then once we got up to Mount Sterling and we could actually see on the other side towards the sunset,
oh my God,
it was so bright. The colours were so vivid. It was just, several times we just had to stop and have a look because
I would make him. I'd go, Ron, stop, let's look.
We were running. If anyone knows the road from Stirling down to Howard Gap, it's a really rocky, technical four-wheel drive, and you really have to pay attention to your foot
placement. Oh
placement.
God, yeah.
So
how many times did I roll my ankles?
Oh yeah, well,
eat both ankles.
She rolled one ankle, and then almost 2 minutes later, she rolled the other one.
So then I stopped to do up my shoelaces because I figured maybe that was it. Because when I roll my ankle, I actually end up with the top of my foot on the ground. But I kept tripping, and I also think it was my legs were fatigued.
Yeah,
like
that's right.
They were, because not only have I not run for 4 days, that won't make me any weaker or less fit. It's been that whole block of just feeling like a bag of shit.
Also, the fatigue set in earlier on the second night because of the late night the night before. So we was nearly 3 hours in, but the fatigue was starting to to hit us earlier than it normally would.
Yeah, it did. Like we were by 10:30, we were getting those sleepy eyes. Which is it is what it is. I mean, and anyway, so then we kept going, and obviously on the second night we're sweeping hikers, not runners. So they're not moving as fast as the runners because they're not runners, and also because they've got way heavier packs on, like way, and they're not wearing runners, they're wearing hiking boots, and it's just a different type of athlete. They're still athletes because they're still covering the same terrain and doing the same bloody work. And
just moving a bit slower.
But there was this one guy that when we got to Highwood Gap, you told him he needed to hurry up.
Yeah.
And by God, we were pushing him. We couldn't catch him.
We got into
Well, we did, but
pretty much
took a while.
right on 9 o'clock. And the cutoff was at 9 o'clock, and the competitor was just leaving to go on to Mount Buller. So I just said to him, you're right on cutoff. You need to keep moving, and just be mindful that if you stop too much, you'll miss the cutoff at the next spot. And he said, "Yeah, no worries. I plan to keep moving." And then,
he pushed it. He
he just disappeared.
And then we did catch him at one point, and he saw our lights, and oh God, he pushed it again.
Yeah,
but that's also, it just goes to show that even when we think we're tired, we've still got that much more in us.
Yeah.
If something gives us a little bit of a kick up the ass,
yeah.
it's still there. It's obviously there. We just need someone. But that's part of the human body preserving energy. It will only do what it needs to do to get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
But if it keeps that little bit in reserve for that kick up the arse.
Yeah.
And
And that was one of the things we'd spoken about, that's an important role for the sweep.
That's our job.
Is we're not there to sweep people off the course. No. We're there to sweep people along the course.
Yeah, along the course, yeah.
Give them that, geez, the sweep's right behind me, I better get moving.
Because we want people to beat the cutoffs. We want them to finish. We're not there to go, sorry, you've missed the cutoff.
Yeah.
We're going to drop you at the next aid station. That's why we wanted to really push. And because the last athletes both nights had left about an hour and a half, 2 hours before us. So we were always trying to push as hard as we could to make sure that we caught them, because it's nice. Like, I think the girl on the first night was kind of like a little bit of company for a little bit. Those guys, they needed that push.
Yeah, they were really starting to.
Yeah.
They had from that day, they'd come through from Lovex, which was about 35-ish Ks. So they'd had a long day, and they were really starting to
suffer. For hikers, it was a lot, and with those big packs, they were in big packs. Oh, and I'm like, the one guy that we ended up with, something had happened to his original head torch, so he was on his backup head torch, which was pretty crappy.
Which I wasn't even sure was on it. It was so dull.
So we were, with him and helping him with the head torch. Now, if we hung back and just went at our own cruisy pace, chatting, whatever, we wouldn't be there to help him. So that's why we push a bit, because we want to catch them, be there. And, a bit of moral support. Although I wonder, is it moral support when the sweeps are on your ass? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, that's what we did. And I think he appreciated the light, because because of the no light, he was going off course sometimes when there weren't quite enough markings to like every, step.
Yeah.
Because basically he couldn't see where he was going. And so we were there to guide him and direct him. Thank God, because God, he was going to go off the mark.
At one point when he was on the way up to the summit, and he missed the left-hand turn where you turn. He was
going to go off over,
and he was heading off the mountain in the wrong direction. So
and that's what our job is to keep the competitors safe and try to get them to finish, because that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's right.
So
So and then he finished well. Within
12:30, 20 past 12.
No, 11.
11. Yeah, that's the one I was trying to say.
12, yeah. So he finished within half an hour before the cutoff. So he was all.
So then we had some pasta and a beer and went to bed by 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Probably a bit earlier than 1 o'clock.
No, it was 1 o'clock, I think.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
We were so tired, I can't freaking remember. And then, of course, woke at 7.
Woke at 7, yes, because that's what we do. So nice sleep. At least we got an hour's sleep in.
Yeah. So then we got up, had some coffee, and went down to the square and caught up with a heap of people. It was so good. It was beautiful weather and people everywhere.
Yeah. Lots of familiar people, faces, and saying hello to people.
So much fun. I mean, honestly, Oscars, Hut to Hut, whatever, I never know what to call it, has the best atmosphere.
It does.
Really has a great atmosphere. Oh, and it just came up. I forgot to turn off my.
All the people, there was, I guess 100 people standing around the finish line, all cheering not only because the Ballot race was on, so they were cheering those people on, but also the
The hikers was
the
coming in.
3 day hikers were coming in as well and getting an extra big cheer.
Yeah,
So
and it was great for me because I had quite a few clients out there, athletes competing, and we caught up with some of them at
yeah,
King's Heart
yep,
later, and
Liz,
Liz and Bronwyn. Yes, yes, I was getting there.
yep,
And then like we had coffee this morning with Mark, and we saw Danielle,
yep.
and we saw Lita come through as the finish, and I saw Emma in the pub, and I was so fast asleep on my feet that I didn't know who she was at first.
And we saw a couple of people from Perk,
Yes, Stuart.
Stuart,
Yeah, he did really well. Did an hour better than his time
yeah,
previously.
at the Archie, yeah,
Yeah, and which was fantastic. And then we just saw other people that we hadn't seen in years, and because with COVID and everything, and
yeah,
anyway, don't get me started. It was just great to see people everywhere, and to see people hugging and acting like normal people.
yeah,
It was really a nice change, quite
yes,
frankly. And yeah, it was great, wasn't
yeah,
it?
it
Great
was
weekend.
great
And then
weekend.
we headed off because it's been a long bloody weekend and we
Yeah,
needed to get home. And yeah. And then I
yes,
fell asleep in the car while Ron drove again. I'm
yeah.
so shit.
So yeah, it was a 3 hour drive home with a half-hour stop for lunch.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. We stopped in Yay for lunch
yeah,
and then came home, unpacked, or we went to the supermarket on the way home to buy
yeah.
food.
Because unfortunately, the week starts again tomorrow. Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
Yes.
No, what we actually wanted to talk about, that was just a catch up,
Yes.
is about an off season.
Yes. Isabel and I have talked about this, previously. Um, when you look at the North American, European running, and specifically trail running scene, they have an off season where generally trails are snowed over.
So they'll do like
It's not they're
skimo
not
or cross
accessible.
country
Yeah,
skiing or fat bike riding, and they'll do some running, but not
yeah, but
much.
not much. Yeah, they'll back right off it and just basically maintain their
And
fitness.
there's no races,
No,
basically.
yeah,
Although to be fair, when I was in Canada, I did do the Frozen House 50
yeah.
in the snow.
Mm. Oh, that's
So there is some races, but
there's
they're more for fun.
yeah,
Like they're not serious because legit we were doing shots at every aid station.
yes.
So that's not a serious
No, it's not
race.
a serious race. And that, and compare that to Australia, where because we don't have such,
Race all season,
yeah,
all year.
we don't have such extreme seasons. We race all year round,
Yeah.
whether it's June or December or January.
Doesn't matter. In actual fact, we race more over winter, but we still have races over
Yeah,
summer. And it's just full on from 2 bays bang at the start of the year,
yeah,
right until
well,
close to Cosy in
yeah,
December.
yeah, that's right.
You can find a race. You can find 10 races every weekend. I mean,
That's right.
I remember back in the day when I got into trail running, there was 3 races and you did them.
Yeah,
But I'm serious. There was not that much racing. You could do some road. There were lots of road races, but trail races there weren't many.
yeah,
And as shitty as it was because you wanted more choice, it was actually really good. It stopped you from over racing,
hmm
and it made you have an off season.
yeah. So basically, the inclination is to just train
Keep racing.
12 months a year,
Yeah.
all year round,
Yeah.
so that you can keep yourself ready for the next race. And with Isabel's health issues recently, or not so much health issues, but um, what would you call the training?
Well, it is health issues.
Yeah,
I don't know what to call it because it was I don't know what to
yeah,
call it because
but
I'm healthy. It
yeah,
was a systemic collapse. I
yes,
don't know.
and that's you know what we've spoken about.
Especially with
We think
COVID, we've raced. We
yeah,
ran constantly.
it's partly down to the fact that certainly in the last 3 years that I've known her, she hasn't had
A huge
really a
break.
week off.
Oh, rubbish. I have so. After both those, the FKT,
Well, okay, you had 1 week off
no,
after each one.
no, I had
But
one week.
anyway, but when you look at like the peak athletes, the Killians, the Walmsleys, those guys, they'll take a month off.
Yeah.
Not completely off
And I
exercising, but
used to
a
do
month off.
that.
Yeah.
Like after 100 Ks, I would take a month off of, first of all, a week no training. The second week, or no running,
Yeah.
I'd do some walks. Second week, no, I'd probably go 2 weeks. And this was 100K.
Yeah.
2 weeks no running, and then 2 weeks of sparring around,
Yeah.
And I might have done some spin and all that sort of stuff before it. But then 2 more weeks of unstructured training. But the more I've gotten into longer distances, you kind of think, I'm so robust, I can keep doing this, and it becomes a point where a coach would need to coach probably. Because you just kind of think you're invincible and that you can keep going and keep going and keep going. And I had 2 surgeries last year. You may not know this. I had the one in December, but I had one earlier in the year as well. And I had a lot of racing and a lot of travel. We traveled to America, which was incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
As much as it was brilliant, it was incredibly stressful. And I also had to say goodbye to my daughter, that she's never coming back to Australia. And it's like, it was a tough year all round, not tough in a bad way, but a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then to put 2 surgeries on top of that, my body had a lot to deal with. And so is it any wonder that I fell apart?
Yeah, that's right. And there's an overwhelming feeling of, if I don't run for a month, I'm going to lose so much fitness.
You don't.
But when you're having a mids or an end of season break, you're not doing nothing.
No, that's right.
You do a bit of cross training, you do stretching, you maybe go to the gym, you do a short run here.
And you don't get crazy. You don't go, right, that's it, KFC every day for the next 4 weeks. You're not Scott Beams. You can't get away with it.
That's right.
Only he can.
Only he can.
And to be honest, Euros, more than the North Americans, have a longer than a month off season, but they still train hard, but it's the low impact and it's a change. Like when they do schemo and that sort of stuff, it's still hard work cardiovascularly, but they're not, it's less stressful because it's a less impact on the body, but it's a completely different focus. Like it's just a change is as good as a holiday kind of thing. It's something different. Like the constant focus and stress of running and doing this and it's and I think what certainly for me, and I'm sure many of you listening will feel the same, what has led me to not taking the breaks is all through COVID with no racing, you just kept running because, like I said, after every race I used to take a month off, after every big race, not every race. And with COVID, there were no races.
And also with COVID, there was literally nothing else to do.
There was nothing else to do, especially, I'm sure some of you the same, but for me, I couldn't work. Ron was going off to work every day. I was sitting at home in a 2-bedroom apartment with my daughter who was not in the happiest of moods and the only thing I had to do was run.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a habit, after 2 and a bit years, that becomes a habit and a bad habit, which I clearly need to break and which I think, that those few days off, I know it was only 4 days and I'm not running tomorrow. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week. Probably not a lot, but a little bit.
But even the difference, like we ran last weekend and it was tough. By the time we finished, we were so happy to be finished. And
we pulled the pin early.
We did pull the pin early.
Admittedly, it was bloody hot, but still.
Yes, it was.
But it was regardless of the heat, I felt.
But then just as simple as having, 4 days of no running whatsoever. This weekend felt completely different.
Well, you didn't have 4 days off.
Well, no, I didn't.
But I was much better, wasn't I? Yeah, you could tell. You said
yes,
to me,
I could
tell.
Absolutely. There was
more pep in the step.
More pep in the step. The spirits were higher. More positive. If nothing else, it was just a much more positive experience.
So don't be afraid to take some time off. Is what we're getting at. And after your big races or big whatever, take some time off.
You won't you won't put on 10 kilos. Well, obviously you need to eat, but if you eat sensibly,
I
you
mean,
won't
that
put
is
on 10
always a
kilos.
concern for me. I am concerned about, wanting to, because I can eat for Australia, quite frankly, and and that's a hard habit to get out of
Yeah,
when you're not training. So you do have to be a little bit cognizant of the fact that yes, you're not training, so you do need to reduce it. Not straight away after a race, definitely not,
mm,
because your body needs that energy. But then maybe a week or so after, you need to go, okay, I can stop stuffing my face
yeah.
now.
And we're talking about eating sensibly, not eating.
Yeah, no, 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 no. You still got to eat. I'm just meaning you don't need to eat all the food.
Yeah,
You just need to eat what you need as a human
yeah,
being. I am totally against under eating. I've had red S and it was not pretty and it wasn't good for me. And, you know, you need to eat well, especially women, but men too, because men can get red S. And in fact, it's almost worse for them because you don't get the same signs with a woman when she's getting to energy deficiency, her period will stop.
yeah.
Whereas a man doesn't get that sign.
Hmm.
And so, you know, men probably need to be even more careful.
Yeah,
So, you know, we're not saying don't eat, just you don't need to eat for Australia
yeah.
or whatever country you're from. Because I did notice that lots of countries are getting on board. So it's brilliant.
Mm.
Um, but in regards to the time off, it's good for you, not just physically, but mentally. Because of course, with this me running like crap and feeling like crap, just the stress of going, I'm not running, or the lack of stress, the stress release saying, I'm not running, this is it. I'm just having time off. Oh, it was like, no, I'm not. And it was so good. It really is beneficial mentally as well as physically. And I think an important part of your training, quite
Yeah,
frankly, it is training too.
it is. Because, you know, if you're not training well and everything hurts and it's a struggle, but you just keep persisting and it stays like that for
You
months on
can't
end,
push through it.
10 times better to take a week off, take 2 weeks off, and then come back fresh.
Mm.
Your training will, benefit
Immensely.
immensely.
You're
Yeah,
and you may think, oh my God, I can't take that time off, but actually it's better for you to take that
yeah,
time off.
yeah,
And I do think having some sort of off season, doing a different sport is really beneficial. But as we said, it's hard in Australia because there are constant races, and you could do a big race every 3 months if you want. I mean, you could do it every weekend, but every 3 months, and 3 months is not enough between races,
no,
not a
not if
races.
you want to get the best out of yourself.
No, not if you want to really achieve what you are physically capable of. And I also have the belief that you can only go to the well so many times, um, because it's so draining to push your body to the point where you are in agony, and then to just go, oh well, that's over. I'll do it again in 6 weeks. I mean, mentally, you can't keep doing that to yourself. You will end up in a really bad place if you keep doing that to yourself. There's only so many times you can go to the well. The well is limited. And if anything, I think the break is best for your mental capacity and to build that strength up again to be able to push your body.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Mm.
Yeah,
So there you have it. That's our little chat on that,
it's
on the off season, but also on Oscars.
Oscars hut to hut. Yeah,
Great event.
a great event. Well, if anyone's thinking of doing it, then strongly suggest you go. Give it a try. Whether it's the 10K, the 50K, or the 100K, they're all really well supported by the race organisers. The smiles on the people's faces coming in today was just
Everyone was so happy,
yeah,
weren't they?
yep,
And it was funny. I was talking to Stuart, and he was saying, um, because I was saying how positive I was feeling. He was like, "You can't come to this place and not come away feeling better."
yeah,
And that's just another competitor saying that. So
yeah,
it's so true. You come away from it feeling better about the world. It's not such a depressing place all the time,
yeah,
and a great event. and the volunteers. Awesome.
Oh,
I mean, we were
just
the
amazing.
volunteers too, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about all the other volunteers at the aid station.
Yeah,
How
but
brilliant were they?
we did but happily and kind of frustratingly, we spent a lot of time down at King's Hut weekend.
Yes.
And the volunteers there, whether it was Kate, who was the head volunteer, what Oscars do is they actually have four-wheel drive clubs that come and help out at those major aid stations, and they are the nicest, most helpful. They can't do enough. So much fun to be around and to talk to.
Cooking delicious food for everyone.
Shout out to the Yarra Valley Four-Wheel Drive Club.
Yeah.
They put in so much work.
Oh my God, they were making pizzas.
Pizzas on the.
They had special created metal boxes to go in the fire, and they've got all their, condiments for the pizzas, all the different, meats and cheeses, and I think they had all options for all kind of diets,
Yeah.
And it was just, and then they had burgers, and they had veggie burgers, and they had sausages, and they had.
Yeah, so
it was great, and they even provided showers.
Yes.
Between 6 and 7,
Between 6 and 7, they had a shower.
And if people were having trouble putting up their tent, they helped them with that too.
Yeah. So the volunteers at Hut to Hut are just second to none. Amazing. They go out of their way to help. And that's whether that's at the major aid stations or even the guys sitting on top of Mount Sterling in the howling wind. Always there with a smile and to get you on your way. It's just amazing.
A great event, and showcases a spectacular part of the Victorian High Country, and we didn't even get to see the really cool parts, but it was.
But we've spoken about it, and we've vowed that we're actually going to take a trip up there.
We're going the March long weekend.
Yeah.
We're going to go up and we're going to do a big run the Saturday, and on the Sunday go do cross-country and all that sort of stuff, because I've never seen it. I've never been.
Isabel's never seen it, and it's been several years since I've been across there, and everyone, no matter who we spoke to, was just in
raving about it. Even if they got a little bit scared by it, they still raved about it.
So
so that's our Labor Day weekend sorted. A great event to support, even like we say, when you're having an off season or not racing so much, even if you go out and did the 10K,
even if you went up and volunteered.
That's, you know what, we were volunteering. It's awesome just to be a part of the event. It is. And so you're right, volunteer in your off season. Volunteer. I mean, that's another thing I used to do in my off seasons or when I was injured. So there's always something in the trail running season. Off season does not mean you can't see any of your friends, you can't do anything, you just go to the gym and blah blah blah, whatever. You still can be a part of it all. It's just look at it a little differently.
That's right.
All righty, so that was that podcast, episode 192.
Yes, our wine's run out, so
we've got to finish. Bugger this. Because we've also pushed the table up against the door, so I can't even pretend to wander off to something and get a wine because I can't fit. So episode 192, we're closing in on 200, and nobody has messaged me to give me any ideas of what we should talk about on episode 200. So this is your chance. Give me some ideas of what you would like to hear about, what you would like us to chat about, whether you would like a specific guest that I could try to get on. If you want me to get top-notch guests, please, can you review the podcast? That really, really helps, because then they see that the podcast is well esteemed.
Yes.
So that's always helpful. But yes, please DM me, email me, tell me when you see me your ideas for the episode 200, because, quite frankly, it's a milestone, and I'm pretty proud of myself for having done this many episodes. Because it's a lot of work, a lot of effort, and we're always proud when we do hard work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and I wanted to say thank you also to Health and High Performance, and please do go and see Luke when you are having any issues, and he will help get you back running. Also, Peak Chocolate. Go to peakchocolate.com.au and get 15% off at checkout with the code Isabel Ross, Isabel with an O. That's a great discount.
Something I always want to say is Isabel with an O. The O is towards the end. It's not IOS, Obel, Osabel.
Why would anyone think that's what I meant?
Because you always say Isabel with an I.
Yeah, but surely that makes sense, doesn't it?
Not in my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, do you think I'm meaning like Isabel meaning Osabel?
Yeah.
Oh, no, like
I
Laz
S
calls me Isobel.
yeah. ISOBEL.
The Scottish way. I thought everyone understood what I meant.
Just my mind work the way my mind
Okay, whatever.
works.
DM me if you think the way what Ron's been saying. Like, have I had it wrong this whole time? I don't know.
Is a bowl.
Surely people aren't that stupid.
Well, I clearly am.
Oh dear. All right, that's the wine talking. All right. Anyway, go to Peak Chocolate. Get some chocolate. You won't regret it. In fact, you'll probably thank me. Um, anything else we need to say?
No, I think that's
No,
it.
I have got my Mastering Your Menstrual Cycle workshop on Wednesday night. So I'll try to put this out Tuesday. So please do make sure you register. And then late March, I have got another polls clinic, and I'll be doing your the mental toughness workshop online this time. I've previously done it twice live, but this time online, just so that more people can get access to it, because it's not always convenient live, depending on the location. So go to the website. It's all open there on the shop, and purchase tickets to either of those two. And I can't wait to see you. I love to meet listeners. And that's it for today.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Alles good.
Thanks
All
for
right.
joining us.
Thank you for joining us, and catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.